The elderly woman waiting at the bus stop was mocked by a group of young people who called her a boomer and recorded videos with their phones to share on social media. When they realized that the company owner they were filming was Margaret Wilson herself, that viral video became the end of their careers. Margaret Wilson, 67, was the founder and CEO of WilsonTech, the city's largest technology company. The small software business she started in her garage 40 years ago had grown into a tech giant with thousands of employees. However, despite her success, Margaret preferred to live a simple life. This morning, she was following her normal routine. She walked to the bus stop to go from home to work. Margaret could use her car or hire a chauffeur, but she preferred public transportation. She wanted to understand the daily lives of the city's people and support environmentally friendly transportation. While waiting at the stop, a group of young people came next to her. They were in their 20s, holding smartphones with wireless earphones in their ears. They all looked like young professionals working at tech companies. While Margaret was waiting quietly, one of the young people noticed her. "Look at that old lady," said Jake, a 24-year-old software developer, "still using the bus. Times have changed, but some people still live in the past." His friend Tyler laughed. "My grandma is like that too. She's afraid of technology, always says it wasn't like this in the old days." The third young person, Sophia, took out her phone. "This is typical boomer behavior. I should record this." Margaret heard this conversation but didn't react. She just continued waiting for the bus calmly. Jake continued, "This generation really doesn't understand. The world has changed, but they're still trying to live with old methods." "Absolutely," said Tyler. "We have old managers like this at our company too. Their technology understanding is zero. They always say, 'This work isn't done this way.'" Sophia started recording the video. She was secretly recording Margaret, making mocking comments alongside. "Look," Sophia said to the video, "a typical boomer. She probably doesn't even know how to use a smartphone. This generation is completely lost in the technology age." Margaret's phone rang. She had an old model phone and the sound was a bit loud. Margaret answered the phone. "Hello, Margaret Wilson." Her company's CFO was speaking from the other end of the line. "Margaret, preparations for tomorrow's board meeting are complete. The new AI project presentation is ready." "Excellent," said Margaret. "Add the latest revisions on artificial intelligence integration too." The young people heard this conversation but didn't pay attention. They just continued mocking Margaret's old phone. Jake shook his head. "Did you hear that? She says, Margaret Wilson. She's probably cleaning at a tech company and thinks she's important." Tyler started laughing. "Yes. She says AI project. She probably doesn't even know what artificial intelligence is." Sophia continued recording. "This old lady is now trying to use technology terms too. So funny." When the bus arrived, everyone started boarding. Margaret also calmly got on the bus. The young people followed behind her, still mocking. On the bus, Margaret found a seat and sat down. The young people sat near her and continued their conversation. "This generation really makes our job difficult," said Jake. "They're in decision-making positions at companies but don't understand anything about technology." "Absolutely," said Tyler. "The CEO at my company is also an old man. He always talks about traditional methods. He hinders innovation." Margaret listened quietly. She understood that these young people worked in the technology sector and was noting their opinions. Sophia was still recording. "Having to travel with old people on the bus is also a hassle. I wish they'd learn about Uber." At this point, Margaret's phone rang again. This time, her company's CTO was calling. "Margaret, we discussed the final details for the partnership agreement with Google and Apple. The signing ceremony is on Monday." "Great," said Margaret. "Is the blockchain integration ready too?" "Yes, exactly as you wanted. The quantum computing research department is also continuing to progress." The young people heard this conversation too, but continued mocking. Jake whispered, "This woman is talking about Google and Apple. She probably learned from news she saw on TV." Tyler laughed. "She says blockchain. She probably doesn't even know what it is." Sophia added a comment to the video. "Old people hear technology words and think they understand them. Very tragicomic." At the next stop, Margaret stood up. She walked toward the door to get off. The young people continued behind her. "Finally," said Sophia, "the old boomer is getting off." At the stop, Margaret answered her phone again. This time, she was talking to her company's human resources director. "Sarah, tomorrow morning, we have our meeting about the new hiring process. We'll especially review our strategy for bringing young talents to the company. Of course, Margaret. Do you have any new ideas about this? Yes, I have some concerns about young people's adaptation to the company. We need training on respect and professionalism. This conversation caught the attention of Jake, Tyler, and Sophia. The words human resources and company made them stop. Jake approached curiously. "Excuse me, ma'am, which company do you work at?" Margaret looked at him. "At WilsonTech." All three young people's faces changed at once. WilsonTech was the city's largest technology company, and they all dreamed of working at that company. "At WilsonTech," said Tyler in amazement. "In which department?" "I'm the CEO," said Margaret calmly. Silence fell. All three young people were frozen. Sophia dropped her phone. "CEO?" "Yes," said Margaret. "Margaret Wilson. I founded the company 40 years ago." Jake's mouth hung open. Are you Margaret Wilson, the founder of WilsonTech?" "Yes, that's me." Tyler bowed his head in shame. We didn't know." "I didn't expect you to know," said Margaret, "but your behavior is unacceptable." Sophia was in panic. I recorded a video." "I know," said Margaret. "I heard and saw everything." Jake tried to apologize. We're very sorry. We didn't know who you were." "That's not important," said Margaret. "What's important is how you behaved without knowing who I was." Tyler desperately asked, "Will the video be deleted?" Margaret looked at him. "I don't make that decision. It's a decision Sophia needs to make." Sophia said in a trembling voice, "Of course I'll delete it. Right now." "Wait," said Margaret. "This video is actually very educational. Maybe you shouldn't delete it." All three young people were shocked. "What do you mean?" asked Jake. "This video shows how young professionals treat elderly people. It's a very valuable social experiment." Margaret took out her phone and called Human Resources Director Sarah. "Sarah, I'm going to tell you an interesting story. Today, I encountered young professionals on public transportation. While telling the story, the three young people listened in shame. This incident shows us that we need to strengthen respect and diversity training at our company." After hanging up the phone, Margaret turned to the young people. "I want to use this video as training material for our company. Of course, we'll blur your faces and hide your names." Jake couldn't breathe. This will end our careers." "On the contrary," said Margaret, "this is a learning opportunity for you. But of course, I have conditions." "What are they?" asked Tyler. "First, you'll stop being disrespectful to elderly people and different generations. Second, you'll participate in our company's diversity training program. Third, you'll share this experience with others." Sophia asked hopefully, "If we do this, the video will remain, but it will be used for educational purposes. Your identity will be protected." All three young people readily agreed. Margaret continued, "By the way, which companies do you work at?" Jake answered, "I'm a software developer at Technova." Tyler, "I'm a project manager at Startup Hub." Sophia, "I'm a social media specialist at Digital Wave." Margaret took notes. "We have partnerships with these companies. I'll send a positive report about you to my human resources department. Of course, after I'm sure you've learned this lesson and changed." The young people were surprised. She wasn't giving them the punishment they expected, but a second chance. "How can we repay this generosity?" asked Jake. "By treating others with respect," said Margaret, "and by not forgetting this lesson." A week later, Margaret was having a meeting with her human resources team at WilsonTech's office. "After the bus incident," said Margaret, "I decided to strengthen our company's training program." Sarah asked, "Will the video really be used for educational purposes?" "Yes, but anonymously. The goal isn't to embarrass people, but to teach." During the meeting, reception informed Margaret that she had a visitor. "Someone named Jake Morrison wants to see you." "Send him in," said Margaret. Jake entered with a bouquet of flowers and a letter in his hand. "Ms. Wilson," he said respectfully, "I wanted to thank you." "For what?" "For the lesson you taught me. This week I completely changed my behavior, and I'm trying to make a difference at my company too." Margaret opened the letter. It was a long apology letter written in Jake's handwriting and his commitments for the future. "This is very thoughtful," said Margaret. "I thank you for being open to learning." Jake, "Tyler and Sophia have also changed a lot. We all learned a lot from this experience." Margaret smiled. "This is the greatest reward for me." A month later, Margaret was waiting at the bus stop again. This time, a different group of young people came next to her, but this time they had noticed the situation. "Excuse me," said a young girl. "Aren't you Margaret Wilson, the founder of WilsonTech?" "Yes, that's me. I really admire you. You're a great inspiration for female entrepreneurs." Margaret thanked her. When the bus came, the young people gave her a seat and treated her with respect. The story of Jake, Tyler, and Sophia had gone viral. Of course, with their names hidden, many young professionals read the story and question their own behavior. Margaret started an age diversity program at her company. She encouraged employees from different generations to work together. And most importantly, she made the principle that everyone should be respected by everyone, the foundation of the company culture. This incident became a lesson for not just 3 young people, but the entire city. Old age is a symbol of wisdom and experience. And sometimes that ordinary-looking person waiting at the bus stop might actually be the most important person who could affect your future. That morning at the bus stop, not only public transportation changed route, but so did social respect. Jake, Tyler, and Sophia now work at WilsonTech, making the best of the second chance Margaret gave them. Sometimes the biggest lessons come from the most unexpected places. And sometimes the video you record can become the best turning point of your life. If this story made you reconsider how you treat elderly people and the danger of ageism in our society, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs this lesson about respect, and subscribe for more stories that challenge our assumptions about age, technology, and human dignity. Your support helps us continue bringing these important conversations to light.